Mr. Clemens, you got somebody on the line? We got Dante on the line. Can you hear Dante?
Yeah, I'm here. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead with your question.
Oh, okay. My question to you was with I had seen you downtown in the courthouse a couple times, and I wanted to know, like, with the civil rights activists or the people that's here that's fighting for civil rights, do you see what happens to some of these let's say insurance civil suits or hospital civil suits like Hurley's, or like when the city of Flint gets sued? Do you see what they doing with these?
Tell me a little bit more. What are you talking?
Like the lawsuits that's going in the county of the 67th district or 68th district court. Like some of these I don't feel like some of these lawsuits are being processed.
Yeah. So
And I know you. I didn't see you downtown in the courthouse, so I was wondering if you know anything about that situation.
yeah, so I don't have a ton of knowledge about what's happening especially in the district courts, but there have been a lot of different class action lawsuits and civil rights lawsuits that have been filed. I don't know where they're at in progress, or what's taking so long. Our judicial system has had quite a backlog, and it's not just been these civil cases, but we've seen folks that have sat in our county jail for years waiting for a trial, waiting for a hearing. We know a part of that was because of COVID. There's been some additional funding and resources that have been brought in. But quite frankly, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know why the judicial system, why the judges that have been elected have made some of these things drag on for so long in the process.
Okay, well, with the knowledge of being in the public news a couple years ago, Judge Joseph Farrer was basically investigated for having some type of sexual misconduct with a Michigan State intern, and he still has like yet to say anything else about this. Michigan State Police just got investigated by the FBI too. They have yet to bring up this. Um, I think the media plays a big part in our demise in Flint, as well as Genesee County. But I just think the media plays a really, really big part. I know that the corruption here is really, really deep. That's why I asked you when I seen you in the courthouse, like, are you under civil litigation or are you, prosecuting? Or
Yeah, so you make a lot of really good points. Judge Farrer has won. He's no longer in office because of that investigation. We do know that there's still investigations happening with the state police post here in Flint. As far as my role, I'm on neither side of those. So as county clerk, I'm not an attorney. I don't prosecute or litigate anything. So my office, we handle giving out birth certificates, death certificates, marriage records, as well as overseeing the election process, printing of ballots, and registering folks to vote, and property records. We do some dealings with the court and handling court records, but myself and my office, we don't do any of the litigation side of things. So I'm kind of just a bystander on that side, along with you, watching what's happening. But I also want to mention, you mentioned the media, and there's all different sorts of media outlets, right? This show we're on now, you can consider as media, and that's why I'm on shows like this, because we're shows that are giving out real information. We know there's also media outlets out there that like to only show certain things that are happening, right? They only show some media, the worst of the worst in our community, and won't show the good things happening. But then there's other folks, especially at the national level, right? We look at this political media that's happening where they don't want to give the truth or give all the facts. They want to give something that's going to get ratings, right? Rather than giving out information. And that's something that we all as consumers have to be very careful about, is where we're getting our information, where we're getting our media from, and making sure that we're doing the research and we know the facts. It sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. You've made a lot of good points. You're doing your research. You're not just seeing what you see in the media and taking that at face value.
Facts.
I live here. I've been going through the water crisis, and like Rich was saying again, just to agree with his side before. I have been used by the system when it was convenient for them, and then when it was, again, like the first thing I feel like this whole media thing do is assassinate people's character. So, they'll sit up there and call Mays a crackhead and call, and then when he finally blows up, oh, he can be the president of the United States now that he has a fan base. And this is kind of like how the society is perpetuating, like, this is okay, this is norm. And I'm feeling this is weird to me.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Yeah, so I definitely been keeping my eyes on all the administration of this city. And like I said, I know I don't have to assume I know, and I can probably litigate it myself as a paralegal in court of the misconducts and the insubordination that's been going on inside our administrations. But I don't want to be the target of their backlash, because I know, again, they're human and they have emotions and everything else, and it don't become about right or wrong. At that point, it becomes a get back thing.
Question, Dante. Were you the one posting in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
So, is it some type of way, maybe calling this number back after the show, or texting this number, because I would like to see that article, or wherever you got that information about the spill in the Flint River?
It was on public news. It was on Channel 5 News a week, just last week.
Oh, okay then. Okay. And you say Eagle is the department checking our water?
Yeah, Eagle, and I think environmental. I know it's Eagle for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
for
Eagle.
Sure.
And the environmental one, I forgot the whole full name of it, but yeah, they was at the scene or whatever. They never identified what the spill was. They never said that, they contained it. They just said it was on the north side of Flint, of the Flint River. And it was a new toxic spill.
Okay. So do you have any more questions for Mr. Rich or Mr. Dominique?
No, I enjoy talking to you, brothers. Enjoy the show. We stand and fight till we can't stand no more.
Man, so we appreciate it, man. keep watching out of the mud, man, because we're trying to be more informational and less confrontational, man. So
that's right.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate you coming on, and I think you made a really good point about when the folks that are calling out injustice, we see it happen time and time again in this community, that they get challenged, they get shut down. I mentioned earlier my predecessor, who pled to misconduct in office and was removed from the office of county clerk and register of deeds. When he was county clerk, I was just getting started on the board of commissioners, and I was involved in that investigation. The county clerk, however, something that I learned, is a big part of the redistricting commission. So because I was investigating a very powerful politician, my district got completely changed when I was first running from office, from a really safe Democratic district that covered half of the city of Flint and most of Flint Township. The area I grew up, what I knew, the people knew me there. Because I was investigating the clerk, my district changed to include Mundy Township, Grand Blanc Township, and went from being 75% Democratic, and I run as a Democrat, I don't hide my party affiliation, to a district that was 51% Democratic. So they were coming at me. They were making it harder for me to hold office because I was challenging people. I was sticking up to things. So you make a really great point, and that we see that happen time and time in our community. We can't give up the fight. We've got to stand up for what we believe and what's right, and take in information from all of the sources, do our own research.
Right. Thank you. I understand that.
Dante, before you get off of here, I want to remind you that I need a song or two for our No More Tears concert, August the 17th at Ballinger Park. I know you got me.
All right, I got you, Rich. I got you. Y'all have a good one, brothers. Peace, y'all.
You too.
All right, appreciate
thank you for everything, Dante.
Peace.
So we're going to continue this interview, but if anyone else wants to call in and have any questions while we got these two gentlemen in the office, be our guest. The lines are open. Take it away, Rich.
All right, how y'all doing? Hey, Mr. Dominique, thank you for showing up. This is my first time doing Who's on My Ballot live like this at a podcast, and I just want to let everybody know that because of the messiness, and this is a time to be serious, that's why I chose this location to host this podcast, because it's really time that we start doing the right things. And we finna have a good time. And Dominique, I'm so glad you were here, because you're about to share some information that everybody needs to know, because there's a lot of confused people. Like yesterday, I got with the voting polls and stuff, And they're set up for the 2026, as far as I'm concerned, because Burston is hosting the second ward. And we all know that Burston is in the third ward. So this information is very important to y'all, that especially if you live in the first or the seventh ward right now, or you used to live in the first or the seventh ward, because y'all need to know whether or not y'all are still in the first ward or y'all are in the second, seventh ward. And this information also can help y'all find out whether or not you are a registered voter, tell you your polling place, and you can also receive absentee ballots applications. And I really implore people to vote early.
That's right.
So take it over, Dominique.
So let's back it up and start from the very beginning, right? First, we got to make sure everybody is registered to vote. And to be a registered voter in Michigan and Genesee County, you must be 18 years of age. Now, you can register to vote before you're 18. And when you're 17, you can register to vote. You can't vote until you turn 18. And you must be a U.S. citizen, and you must reside within the county. So if you want to be a Flint voter, you need to live in the city of Flint. You have that right to vote, and you don't lose that right to vote. If you commit a crime, if you get charged with a crime and you're sitting in jail waiting for a conviction, waiting for a hearing, waiting for a trial, you still maintain that right to vote. And we're doing a lot of work around that, making sure that the inmates in the county jail, that their right to vote is protected. Now, when you are convicted of a crime, if you're sent to a state prison, you're serving a sentence, you do not have the right to vote during that point. But the big thing, and check this, y'all, the misconception that I hear time and time again is someone say, oh, I'm an ex-felon, I can't vote. Once you have served your time, once you have served the sentence, you return your right to vote. You are eligible to vote again. And that's one of the things I really want to clear up. You can't vote while you're serving a sentence. But before that sentencing, while you're awaiting trial, and once you've been released, you're a returning citizen, you do have a right to vote. And everyone needs to exercise that right to vote. You mentioned there's a lot of stuff that's on the ballot this year. We know there's a lot of confusion that's happening. And one of the places I'm directing everyone to go, again, is that website, michigan.gov/vote. And on that website, michigan.gov/vote, there's a button there that says, am I registered? And there you can put in your name, your address, your information. You can put in your driver's license number. There's multiple ways you can search up yourself. And it'll pull yourself up, or your family member, whoever you're doing it for. And you'll be able to tell. So right there on the top left, there's a button. Are you registered? Yep, right there.
You got it.
You put in that information, and it'll not only tell you if you're registered or not. If you're not registered, it'll tell you need to get yourself registered. But if you are registered to vote, it's going to show you exactly what's on your ballot. And that's important here in Flint, because we know we have some special elections happening, and we have the changes in the wards, and there's been a lot of conversations about old ward and new ward. This link here, you put in your name, your information, you'll be able to see, do I have a recall? Am I living in the old first ward with the new second ward or something like that? We're having a special election in August in the first ward. That is the primary to fill Eric Mays' seat. We're having a general election in August in the 7th ward for the recall, the special election for Candace, who was appointed. Now that she was appointed, she has to run for the seat. So her and Jan Marie Arbor are facing off. We have in November, there will be a recall election for Quincy Murphy's seat. So this is the place that you can go to see if you're registered, where your voting location is, and what is on your ballot.
That's very important, because the reason why I do this, I was one of them old-fashioned voters that grandma put me in, said push D, and everything else if you push yes, grandma finna lose more money on taxes. If you push no, grandma gonna save some money, gonna be able to buy you some candy and some tennis shoes. So I followed that model all the way up until Rick Snyder got reelected. And I was like, hold on, that ain't enough. You got to do way more. I voted for whoever he was running against and don't know who he was running against to this day. Mm-hmm. And I done been told about 5 times, but it goes in one ear and out the other. Real talk. So I said I got to do more, and that's when I came up with this who's on my ballot, and give a shout out to Dan Kildee, who is no longer running, because every time I had my who's on my ballot, he showed up and he brought so many yard signs. And it was a lot of people that was running for office that would show up. They would talk to people and stuff like that. But then we were also giving them this information that Dominique is giving now. And I'm glad to be doing it online, because just like city council in the city of Flint, you get thousands of people viewing. You don't even get 50 to show up in person.
And the other thing I'll say, it's not enough to just see the names and know what the names that are on the ballot. And that's what this first site that we told you about, michigan.gov/vote, was to see what your ballot looks like. But when you see that, you're going to see a list of names. And some of those names you might know. You've been in the community. You know who's about the community. You know who's doing the work. Some of these names you ain't never heard of. That's where the second website comes in, 411 Vote, or Vote 411. This is an organization. It's the League of Women Voters, and you don't have to be a woman to use the website, and they have men in their organization as well. They just call themselves the League of Women Voters. And their entire mission is to get information out about the election in a nonpartisan way. And one of the things that they do is they send surveys out to everybody running from every position, from U.S. Senate down to city council member. So you can, on this site, Vote 411, you can go down and you'll be able to also put in your information. So if Rich put in his address there, it would show him not just the names that are on the ballot, but it gives you their bio. It gives you the answers to all of the questions that the league is asking. What do you stand for? What are you going to do for the community? How have you been involved? And you can compare the answers from candidate to candidate instead of just saying, oh, this name sounds familiar. Oh, I like how this name sounds. We got to do some research. Because like you said, it's not enough to just vote for one party, be it you're a Democrat or Republican. It's not enough to always vote yes or always vote no on a proposal. We've got to do some research.
Yep.
We got to know what these people stand for, who they're endorsing, who's supporting them, how have they been involved in the community. In this site, they ask all of those questions. But the other thing I'll say is it's optional, right? Every candidate running for office isn't required to fill out the survey. Most of them do. But it also tells you a lot if somebody who's running for office can't take the time to answer the questionnaire. They don't want you to know what they're standing for. They don't want you to know who they are. And that says a lot, too, on who we're voting for. So take a look at this. This is Vote 411. Put in your information. See who the candidates are. I know right now they've got the U.S. Senate, the congressional, and the State House of Representative races on there. Next week, they're adding in all of the local races. So we know on our ballot this year, we've got, in November, will be president. But in August, we have an election, our U.S. Senate primary. And in the primary election, the other important thing that I'll say is, unlike November, where we're going to just vote for, both sides who you think is best job, in August, you do have to choose a party. The August primary election, you'll either vote in the Democratic primary or the Republican primary. And in each of those primaries, there's multiple people of the same party. So U.S. Senate, for example, we know that on the Democratic side, we've got Alyssa Slotkin and Hill Harper, both Democrats running. In August, we're going to pick one of those people that are going to go up in November against the 3 Republicans that are running for that seat. Yep. We've got U.S. Congress. Congressman Kildee's not running for re-election. It's going to be one of the most competitive congressional districts in the country, one of the top 5 most competitive districts. The Republicans are really eyeing to flip it to the Republican Party. Democrats are fighting to hold that seat. There's 3 Democrats running for that seat and 3 Republicans running for that seat. In August, we're going to narrow it down to 1 and 1. I said it before. Sometimes we get to that November ballot, right, and we say there's no good choices. And I asked, did you vote in the primary? And folks say, well, no. Well, you didn't vote to make us have a good choice, right? When there were good people on the ballot, they may not have had as much money. They, may not have got out there, and that's part of their job. They got to be campaigning, but we all have to vote in every election. Those August elections are just as important. We also have our state House of Representatives. They're elected every 2 years. So if you're happy with how your state representative's been doing, or if you're unhappy, that's your opportunity to vote in August to narrow it down. We know in Genesee County, in Flint, overwhelmingly, Flint votes Democratic. That's no secret. That's no surprise. But when we know that, we know there's going to probably be a Democratic state representative. So when you decide who your state representative is going to be is that August election. When there's 2-3 Democrats running, we got to be voting in that. This August election is also going to include all of our county positions, our county clerk, my position, clerk and register of deeds, the county sheriff, the county prosecutor, the county treasurer, all 9 of the county commissioners. And there's 2 county commissioners right now that represent portions of the city of Flint. Flint Schools has an election. The Mott Community College election, that's not going to happen until November. That and the Flint Schools will be in November. A lot of our cities and townships. So if you're in the city of Flint, in the 1st Ward and the 7th Ward, you have an election in August. In the 3rd Ward, you'll have an election in November. If you're not in one of those wards in the city of Flint, stay tuned because there's a lot of recalls happening. There might be another recall coming up on the November ballot. And all the communities around. So all of our townships, Flint Township, Flushing Township, Grand Blanc Township, so on and so forth. They've got elections in August and November as well. So this is a big year.
Dominique, you brought up an important race. You said county commissioner. That's another reason why they need to go in here because it's 2 different county commissioners in the city of Flint.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all need to find out what race y'all qualify to vote on.
That's right.
And if 411 for you deep people that like to do research, once y'all pull up this sample ballot and pull their name, y'all can go on their Facebook accounts, their Instagram. Y'all can really do some investigation. Y'all can, do some snooping and find out what's their history and stuff on your own. And it's important that y'all do that. Even if you don't vote early, it's important that you can go to the polls and you don't have to spend an hour there because you would have already did your research and and especially with the proposal.
That's
you
right.
don't want to go to up to the voting poll and see a proposal for the first time.
That's right, because that language is confusing. We got on the site right now. He's showing you. So this is the congressional race. There's a checkbox there. You can click those check boxes and it'll say, show me their answers. And you can read the answers that Matt Collier, Kristen McDonald-Rivet, Pam Pugh, what they all said. And you can read the answers of the Republicans. And you notice some of them, there's no picture there. There's no answers. They didn't bother to put in an answer. And the questions they ask, it gives you the general information. What's their education background? What's their experience? What's their contact information? You can directly reach out to these folks. Our elected officials and the people running to become an elected official are public candidates. They put out their information publicly. We should be contacting them. If their survey questions don't answer the specific question that you want to get to, give them a call, send them an email, and ask them, hey, how do you feel about this issue? I need to know before I cast my ballot in August.
Yep. And that's definitely right.
You can compare.
Yep, side by side.
Yeah, that's real interesting. I put it side by side so you can see their answers on education, qualifications and experience, the bios. This is real interesting.
Did you learn something new today?
Yes, I did. Yep. So, like you said, you could be informed before you even get there.
And
so
that's
it ain't
what's
about picking
important.
no popular name or
And
how this name sounds cool or.
And that 411 website is a national website. So no matter if you got listeners that are from outside of Flint, outside of Michigan, anybody can plug in there and see who's on their ballot. The michigan.gov/vote, of course, is Michigan-based, anyone in the state. But those 2 resources together, you'll not only be making a vote, but you'll be making an informed vote. And that's what we as a community need to be doing more of.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then we ain't have no questions or anything come up, did we?
Let's see. Stop sharing. We didn't have any questions, but people that are watching, and we got some people watching. If y'all want to call in and ask some questions, we got these websites pull up. If y'all got some questions about how to navigate through there and you're not sure, we can take you through that real quick. And if you just got some questions for Rich or Dominique that you want to ask while we have them here live, call in. The number is 248-820-5053. Again, 248-820-5053. But looking at this ballot stuff is very interesting. And people need to know that this exists and it's here.
And it been here, and it should have been pushed. And it should have been more than me that been pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm trying to do, what my goal of it is to bring more people back into voting. We got to improve our voting numbers. We got to. 11%, that's not enough. We got to. I remember when presidents really ran through Flint and fought for votes. They used our stories. I remember they rented Burston, and we thinking that the public is welcome. Only thing there was TV cameras from around the world. And they were just capitalizing off of our tragedy. That was the heart of our water crisis. And the whole world knew about what was going on in Flint. But they didn't really reach out to the Flint voters because, once again, ain't enough of us voting to make a difference in the presidential race. And we got to change that. We got to change that.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's all local for us.
Yeah.
And then I sit and wonder, and you'll never know who is the electoral vote. Like, who is those people that actually vote the president in? But at the end of the day, what makes a difference to the city of Flint and the community of Flint is the leaders that we put into these positions. And we have the power to put those people in these positions. We have the power to do a lot of changes on the north side, all this stuff that we want to do. It's about putting the right people in. It's really about coming out and voting. That's what really makes a difference. Voting, because even when whoever the next president go in, or the one that's staying that's in there, at the end of the day, it ain't really got too much to do, because we got our own constitution, the charter in the city of Flint.
Yep.
And a lot of people need to realize that. They call shots up there. They drop money down. They do different things, but they kind of give you the right to do what you want to do, and leave it up to you and your city and your constituents to do what's best for their city. And that's where it makes a difference at. Coming out and vote.
A big difference.
Got to get out and vote.
Dominique, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please inform the people about ineligible ballots? Like, how can you go and vote, but your vote don't count?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we see a lot of that in this August election, which is a very important election. We already talked about, the primaries. In Michigan, we do have that closed primary system where you have to vote in one primary or the other. So some of the big ways we see ballots not count is if you, in the August ballot, you're filling out the Democratic column, and then you decide, I'm going to cross over and vote for a Republican nominee in August, your ballot won't be accepted. You can only vote for one party in August. Now, when you get to November, that's when we cross our ballot. That's when we're electing somebody. August, we're nominating someone from the party. That's why we have to stay in one party. November, we're electing somebody. Now, there is a nonpartisan section in the August ballot. That's where city council races are. That's where your ballot proposals are. Everyone fills those out. But you have to choose the Democratic side or the Republican side. If not, your vote will be ineligible. The other big thing is if you're doing mail-in voting, and this is something we see a lot, you've got to fill out your ballot. You've got to put it in the ballot sleeve, and you've got to put it in the envelope. And when you put it in the envelope, you've got to sign your name. If you don't sign your name, or if your name, the signature does not match the signature on your driver's license, that ballot won't get counted. Now, the clerks, a new law has been put in place that the clerks are required to contact you. Phone, email, text message, whatever they have on file to tell you, hey, we don't have your signature on this ballot, on the ballot envelope. Or, hey, the signature doesn't match. You need to come in and correct it. But that's the other thing that we see when folks' votes get thrown out. We know that over time, people's signature changes, right? But that signature is required if you're doing a mail-in ballot. So if you know you've gotten older, your signature's changed, your health conditions have changed, your hand's a little more shaky, or you decided to get more creative with your signature now, you're a little bit older. My signature when I was 16, when I first got a driver's license, looks completely different than I do now as an adult, right? It's a little more formal. You got to go into the Secretary of State's office or your city clerk's office and update that signature. And we've seen that same thing with recalls that are happening, right? The signatures have to match. So if your signature that you sign every day is different than what's on your government document, on your driver's license, that's going to be hard when you're casting a ballot. It's going to be hard when you're filling out a recall. And those are some of the ways where those votes can get put aside unless you have that corrected.
So, in other words, for you people that think your roommate or a partner, y'all know them and y'all can duplicate their stuff for them, don't do it. Let them sign their own name. Let them do their own stuff. So
and
they
we've
vote.
seen that
So
in the
they-
recalls,
so
right?
they-
The
so
husband
they-
and wife
so they
signing each
vote.
other's.
So they vote. Man, I had to snatch the clipboard for a couple of people. No, man, we for quality, not quantity. We want some quality, and you can't do that. No, I can sign. No, you can't sign for your mama.
That's right.
So, but yeah, we really. And then let me ask you another question. Okay, if you only vote for one race, do that vote count?
Yes. So you can choose to just vote for one race. I don't recommend it. You need to vote for
Me
everything,
neither.
up and down the ballot.
Me neither.
But you come in August and let's say, I really like what Dominique Clemens is doing as county clerk, and that's the only race I'm going to vote in. You can do that. You can fill in that, or you can say, I really didn't like him coming on the show. I'm going to vote for his opponent, but I'm not going to vote for any other race. You can do that. Your vote will be counted. Every other race will be what's called an undervote. Means you left it blank or you didn't vote for enough folks. Another example. So we talk about school boards, and that's a great example. School boards, the Mott board, the courts. You'll see a lot of times they'll say vote for 2, vote for 3. When we vote for a school board, we aren't just voting for one person on the board. We're voting for usually half the board at the time. If you fill in 2 out of 3 or only 1 out of 3, that 1 out of 3 counts. It's called an undervote. You could have voted more, but you chose not to.
Okay.
The flip side of that, however, is called an overvote, and that you can't do. Your ballot won't be accepted. So if you go into your polling location and you vote for both, in November, let's talk November. If you vote for both Donald Trump and Joe Biden, you can't vote for 2 people to be president.
Man, one vote.
So then if you're doing it in person, it'll be an overvote. The machine's going to reject it, and a message is going to come on the screen and say, you overvoted this race. And then you have a choice. You can go correct it. You can fill out a new ballot. They'll let you do that. Or you can say cast ballot as is. And if you hit that button, what you're saying is my vote for president's not going to count because I voted for 2 people. The machine can't pick one for you. That one won't count, but the rest of your ballot will still count. So don't overvote. If it says vote for 2 people, only vote for 2. If it says vote for 1, just vote 1. If it's a proposal, you got to choose yes or no. You can't check in both boxes. Otherwise, just that race won't count. The rest of your ballot is still good.
That's very important knowledge because I was given some misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
I was given misinformation. So that's very good, and thank you. And now, Dominique, would you suggest that people whose handwriting may have changed re-register again?
So you don't have to re-register. You just have to update your signature. You can do that at the Secretary of State's office when you renew your driver's license, or you can go for a special trip to do that. Or it's a lot easier to go to your city or your township clerk, and they can put a secondary signature on file for voting purposes. I suggest Secretary of State because you're going to need that signature for more than just voting. You need that signature for legal documents and other things, and you want it to match. But if you're just worried about voting, you can do it at the clerk's office. They can have a secondary signature so that matches. And then the other thing that I'm going to say about voting is if you go in to vote in person and you got this long ballot, and let's say you do have a mobility issue, you aren't so good with your hands anymore, or let's say you're blind or have some other an impairment, you still not only have the right to vote, but there are resources available to you. And in Michigan, it's called the VAT, the Voter Assist Terminal. Some of you might have seen this. It's usually kind of off to the side. And it's a special machine, and anybody can use it. You don't have a disability. If you just think the ballot's too long and your hand's going to get tired, you can use this machine. And what it does is it puts your ballot on a screen for you. And if you're blind, you put on headphones, and it'll read the entire ballot for you. If you just can't write, have mobility issues, there's a trackpad with buttons. You can click left or right, and you can choose your selection. Folks that aren't able to do that, there are devices that they can bring that's called a sip and puff device, where it's something they put in their mouth, and by making a suck or making a pushing of their air, they can cast their vote. And once it goes through this voter assist terminal, this device, it then prints out your ballot, filled out the way you want it. You look at it, did the machine do it correctly? And then just like any other voter, to protect the dignity of your right to vote, you can then take your ballot and you will put it in the voting machine that everyone else does. So it just prints it out for you. It doesn't cast the vote for you. You still have that right to do, but gives you that option for anyone that has some challenges coming to the poll on election day.
For the people that just tuned in again, can you put that
411 back up there.
Yep. And that Michigan.gov vote, MichiganVote.gov.
So which one you want to see first?
Michigan.gov/vote.
So y'all want to go through the Michigan .gov first?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is going to be what tells you what of the new, if you're in Flint, if you go here, am I registered, it's going to tell you the new ward that you live in. And you want to know, well, am I in the old ward or not? That's when you click on your ballot and it'll show you your ballot.
Yep.
The other site, I'm a visual person, right? So if someone just writing on words or this is the boundaries of a district, don't do it for me. And the link I didn't give, but if you Google the Genesee County Clerk's Office, on our website in the Elections Division, we actually have a map. We have multiple maps. We have one map that shows the current precincts. We know there's 29 precincts in the city of Flint now. So what precinct you currently live in, that's what's on your voter card. It says I live in precinct 28 or I live in precinct 1. And then it overlays that map with the old ward map. So you can look in the precinct where you currently live and see what color it's colored in to know which old ward you live in. And that's helping a lot of folks with the recall specifically because there's been a lot of confusion with that. These new wards that people are voting in aren't what city council is currently representing. That goes into effect in the 2026 city council race.
And people that live in the first ward have received voter registration cards saying that they are no longer in the first ward and they still are in the first ward for this election.
That's correct.
And the same goes for the 7th ward.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's very important. And when the November election come up, the same for the 3rd ward. It's very important that y'all go to these websites and find out exactly what's going on and vote. It's very important.
So I have a question. Sitting here thinking about certain ways that the ballot will not be counted, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you ever done the research or ever thought about it. What do you think the data would be just here in Michigan for ballots not being counted for the countless things that you say that it won't be counted?
So that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. So when we're and there's ways that we can look up the answers to that though. So when we talk about overvotes, right, we know a certain race doesn't count, not the whole ballot. So when you go to the election results after the election and you see that chart of things, you'll notice it'll say Joe Biden. It'll say how many votes he got on election day. It'll say how many mail-in votes he got. And then there's a section that says undervotes and a section that says overvotes. That section that says overvotes, those are the people whose vote did not count. If it says undervote, those are people that did not vote for that race. So that's one of the ways that we can see how many ballots counted for that specific race or not. When it comes to the entire ballot, if you're there on election day, if your ballot goes into the machine, it's counted. You know that it counted. You saw it go into the machine. It counts. If it spits it back out, you physically see it not going into the machine. It didn't count. You need to correct it. Where the challenge comes is when you mail in that ballot, you want to know, was your ballot counted or not, if it's gone through that process. And on that same website, michigan.gov/vote, you can track your ballots. If you've got a mail-in ballot, you drop it in the mail, you want to know, did it get received by the clerk's office? Have they processed the ballot? Did my ballot go through the tabulator? All on that website, michigan.gov/vote. That'll tell you where to vote. That'll tell you who's on your ballot. That'll tell you if your mail-in ballot's been turned in or not. All sorts of information, re-registering online, updating your address, all can happen there. Michigan.gov/vote.
So another question I have. Okay, so all this information that we getting, I think, is it any type of way something if somebody wanted to take the initiative to either go to all the polling sites and be informed on this and being able to tell people this at the site, would that be interfering of the election? Like basically what you're saying, like, before you vote, no matter who you vote for, you need to make sure you do this. You need to make sure you do this. You need to make sure, and kind of give the people that's out there understanding, so that way it'll be less error in voting.
Absolutely. And that's something that can be done. And there's organizations that do that. We know the League of Women Voters, for example, Promote the Vote, Rock the Vote, Voters Not Politicians. These are all organizations that are trying to get out nonpartisan, non-biased information. They don't support one candidate or the other. They're trying to get information out. They're putting these websites out. They'll broadcast them. They'll do commercials about them. Some of these organizations can send out mail. If you have a group that you're working with, you can send mail before the election saying, hey, go to this website and get information to vote. You mentioned on election day, any citizen, any resident has the right to pass out information. Now, the rule for that is you have to be 100 feet away from the door. So if you're giving out information about a candidate, the candidates can do that. I can go out, but now if I'm giving out information at the polling location as a candidate, I'm just giving out information about why you should vote for me. I'm not going to tell you about my opponent. I'm not going to tell you about anyone else. That's why we need these unbiased spots, because naturally candidates are going to be promoting themselves. We'd like to think, we like to hope that what candidates are saying to promote themselves is the truth, but we got to fact check that. We got to do our own research, and that's where these organizations come in. But you as a resident, you can get involved with these organizations, or you yourself can go out to a polling location, have someone 100 feet away, which to some folks might sound like it's really far. It's usually not. It's usually, somewhere in the parking lot. So you can still have those conversations, bring a lawn chair, and as everyone comes in, say, hey, do you know how you're voting? Do you know that your ballot will be spoiled if you don't fill out your ballot correctly? Here's a website of that information. You absolutely can do that.
So I pulled up the website.
So here on this website, if you on the left-hand side there is, and I'm pulling it up here on my phone too, there's that menu that there's at the top says Flint Special and Recall Elections. And the menu on the side there, yep. So this page here has information specifically for City of Flint voters. We put this site together because there's been so much confusion and so much misinformation that's been going around about the recalls and special elections. So here it shows you which city council wards have a special election, and it gives you a link to where those candidates are. But as you scroll down, there's 3 different maps there. That first map is just a side-by-side map of what people are calling the old ward, the 2021 Flint wards. Those are the wards that City Council is currently representing. Then there's the 22 wards. Those are the wards that were redistricted, that when City Council is up for election, that's what they will begin to represent.
2026.
So you can look and you can see there's a lot of it. Didn't change a whole lot. You look at the 8th ward, for example. It picked up a little bit, but most of the 8th ward is the same. We do see some big changes, though, in the 1st ward, in the 2nd ward. There's a chunk that's different in the 7th ward. So you look at those and you might be able to tell side by side. But now if you go scroll down even more, we talked about those voter registration cards. Those voter registration cards tell you your new ward, but it also tells you something else. It tells you your precinct. So if you look at your voter registration card and it tells you that you're in precinct 1, you can find precinct 1 on this map and you can see, okay, precinct 1 is in yellow. Yellow's the old 1st ward. So now I know I'm in the old 1st ward. I'm voting in the special election to replace the late Eric Mays. Now you want to double check that information. You can go to that website we already talked about, michigan.gov/vote. Click Am I Registered? You put in your information, it'll say yes, and it'll give you a section that says View Sample Ballot. You click on that and you'll see your ballot. You'll see for August, the Democratic on one side, Republican on one side, the nonpartisan. And you scroll down, you're going to say, oh, I got a 1st ward election. I'm in the old 1st ward.
And that's very important. That's why I brought you in here, because we are confused.
Mm-hmm.
We are very confused. And this is simple, Fly. You can stay confused. Just go to the website.
Mm-hmm. And it is. It's a very confusing process. And it wouldn't have been. And the redistricting happens every 10 years. And there's a couple of things that happen. There's always a little bit of confusion when redistricting happens. You've got ward changes. The same thing happened with the county commissioners. The same thing happened with congressional districts. The difference was when the county commission got redrawn, when Congress got redrawn, the redistricting happened in 2021 and there's election in 2022. So these new districts were immediately into a place. However, in the city of Flint, we redistricted, but there wasn't another city council election. So you have to, the folks that are elected, they continue to represent their district until another election is. They can't draw a new district and say, I'm going to represent a new district tomorrow. No, you represent your district until the next election. So that redistricted district map goes into effect for the next city council election. The layer that gets added to that is, we know in Flint we had a charter revision, right? Our charter got changed and it moved the day of those elections. So Flint elections used to always be in odd years. Now they're in even years. So this city council has longer terms. So that's why we're waiting until 26 for these maps to go in place. Before, there would have been an odd year election. Now they have an even year election. We've had redistricting. There's this perfect storm happening with these changes in districts. The layer that got added to that's made it really confusing is, if those were the only 2 changes, all right, you've got city council members representing districts they're elected to. In a couple of years, they'll run for new districts. A little bit confusing. Where it's getting really jumbled is now we've got these recalls happening, right? The voters have made a decision, and it is their right to do so. They're unhappy with the quality of the officials in the city of Flint. Some might be happy, some might be unhappy. But there's a process for folks that are unhappy to say, I want to remove someone from office before their term's up. City council, we just mentioned, has a longer term, right? They're usually a 40-year term. They've got 5 years because we moved it from an odd year to an even year. This group's on 5. That's a long time. And folks are saying, we don't want to wait 5 years. We don't want to wait. At this point, it's 2024, another 2 years to see change in the city. So they've started the recall process where they've gone through the election commission at the county to get language approved. They've gone and collected signatures of people that feel they want to change on their ward city council member. And in doing that, if there's enough signatures, that triggers a recall election. Now, on top of the recall, we have, unfortunately, Mr. Mays passed away in the special election happening. And then because of the councilwoman stepping down in the 7th ward, another special election in the 7th ward. So usually when redistricting happens, you got a little bit of confusion, but a few years to figure it out. We don't have that in Flint because there's these recalls, because what we've seen happening in the city of Flint and voters saying that this is enough, they want to change. Now, there are some folks that like who they have in council, and they made the choice not to sign those recall petitions, and that's their right as well. But if there's enough signatures, now what they need to do is in either August if it's a special election or in November for the recalls, you now need to go out and vote, right? If you are upset with who you have on council, if you're in the 1st ward, the 7th ward, the 3rd ward, you have the opportunity to vote in somebody else. If you think your council member's doing a good job, you have the opportunity in the 7th ward and in the 3rd ward to keep that person. In the 1st ward,
in the 3rd ward, y'all got to vote for Rich Jones.
And as clerk, I can't make any endorsements. I'm not making any support.
I know he ain't.
There are several candidates. I think there's 3 candidates running for 3 or 4 candidates at this point. I think 4 now that are running for that 3rd ward seat.
No, so, it's 5 of us.
One of them stepped down.
Who?
So I've got it on our website. Another place on our website, we have the full candidate list. So you don't want to just see your ballot. You want to see everyone's ballot. We've got that as well. So let me pull that up for you. And that is the November. The recall is in November. So we scroll to Flint.
2026, James Mayfield for the 5th ward.
We working.
I'm throwing that out. I'm dead ass.
So the candidates in the 3rd ward is Miss Beverly Biggs Levy, AC Dumas, Carrie Nelson, and Rich Jones. So there was a 5th candidate, LaShawn Johnson. She withdrew her candidacy.
And Quincy still qualified to represent too if he...
Correct. And then Quincy would be on there as well.
He'll make number 4.
Okay. So you work in the office that count the votes, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it's all said and done?
Kind of. So our election process is real complicated because nothing is easy. As we've been talking about, nothing is easy. So in Michigan, we actually have one of the most decentralized election processes in the country, one of the 5 states with the most decentralized system. And what that means is the state's involved, the county's involved, and the city's involved. And in some ways, that's checks and balances, right? In other ways, it causes a whole hell of a lot of confusion. Yeah. The state is the top administrator. They set the rules, they set the policies, they set the operations for elections. The city, they run the day of election process. When you get a ballot in the mail, when you go to a voting site, the people working that election site are being paid by the city. The city clerk mails you your ballot. At the end of election night, the city does all of the processing, the tabulating, the reporting. But then where the county comes in, we're that pre and post side of things. So the county, we're the ones that certifies the ballots to make sure people's names are spelled right. The county election commission includes the clerk, the treasurer, and the probate judge. We're reviewing ballots. We're reviewing those standards. People file for office, some offices at the city, some at the county. Campaign finance is handled at the county. The county prints the ballots. We give them to the city clerk. The city clerk gives them out. People vote. The city counts the votes. Then that data comes to the county. We are then the ones that displays the votes. We haven't counted a single ballot. We just display it. We show the results. Now afterwards, let's say we got an election that's just really close. Somebody wins by 1 or 2 votes and someone calls for a recount. Now, because the city counted the votes originally, the recount gets managed by the county. So I don't count votes until there's a recount. So hopefully I don't have to count votes.
Okay. I was wondering how that worked. Like, yeah, okay.
What about challenges?
So challenges to the election. So organizations can have election challengers. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party both get challengers. But then there are third-party organizations. So the Election Integrity Fund, League of Women Voters, Promote the Vote, all of these organizations can challenge folks. And that is a process that happens at the polling location with the city or the township clerk's office. If someone wants to challenge someone and say somebody walks in and they don't believe they're actually a voter, they can challenge that. Then they have to do some back and forth to figure out the process, or vice versa. A poll worker turns somebody away and says, you can't vote here. Somebody might challenge and say, no, they're registered here. You need to double check that. That's the role of challengers with the local election process.
Very interesting, man. I've been informed today. I learned more. I'm kind of happy and jealous at the same time. But it feels good to enlighten our community. I've been having I started a conversation. I've been started this conversation years ago, but I was talking to the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm talking to the right people, and what we're trying to do is get an election official, maybe two, to come into the community to where we can give somebody a voter's registration. Another table, you can pick up your ballot, and then another table, you can turn in your ballot right then and there. So that's something that
Keep it going.
that we're trying to push to encourage more people to vote and get more people into the because my main thing of it is because I hung with Eric Mays, and the number one passion of him was for the citizens of Flint to lift their voices. And if y'all, there's a lot of people out here, Eric Mays this, he my uncle, he my mentor, he my this, he my that. If y'all really believe in that, and you are a registered voter, or you are a person who participates in voting, encourage somebody that ain't registered to register and vote, and record it and contact, because this, what, 89% of us that don't vote?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to some of them 89% people and encourage them to vote. We got to change. We got to change. We can't keep getting railroaded, and it's 10 years in the water crisis. Come on, man.
So what do you tell the people that believe that their voice don't count because it could be some type of votes not being counted right, election fraud? I mean, things happen, like the powers to be have something to do with the election. What do you tell those folks that actually believe that come from this city?
I don't think that's true, but
Okay.
I know your vote count, because if your vote didn't count, they wouldn't be doing so many things to discourage you from voting.
That's right.
So
in Michigan, again, I go back to that decentralized system. Part of the benefit of that is it makes it hard for that type of interference to happen.
Okay.
You would have to get your city council and your city clerk, your county clerk, your probate judge, your treasurer, the secretary of state, the election division, and the legislator all on the same page. We can't even get council on the same page.
Okay.
So to get all of these people on the same page that they want to manipulate an election, it just doesn't happen. We also in Michigan have very strong standards for reporting and audits. We have to do risk limiting audits. We have to do accuracy audits. We have to do public accuracy testing of the election equipment. So there's all of this paper trail that happens before and after the election, which is the other thing that I'll plug. If you are unsure about the election process, we have public accuracy testing. You can go in on the day of accuracy testing and watch them turn on and program the ballot and test the machines. If you still don't trust the process, and that's absolutely your prerogative, you're right, get involved with the process. Come become a poll worker. We're always looking for folks to be poll workers. And then we've had a lot of folks that have been election deniers that have told me, oh, the 2020 election was stolen and all of these conspiracies, and they've signed up to be election workers, and they've come out the other side and they said, wow, there are so many steps, there's so many processes that it's next to impossible.
Okay.
You know, the other thing I'll mention, because it's the thing we hear time and time again from certain individuals, is that in 2020, they saw truckloads of ballots coming in from out of state that were just filled in for Joe Biden. And these were fake ballots. You know, ballot harvesting was happening in Detroit, and they mentioned Flint and stuff like that. That's not even physically possible in our system. So the way that it works, when you look at your ballot, you're going to notice a few things. One is there's a barcode on the side. Each ballot gets programmed by the county. So even if I have a ballot here in Genesee County, I can't take that ballot and put it in a machine in Oakland County or Detroit and Wayne County. It won't read. We have different systems. We have different barcodes. That won't even work. The ballots are printed at the county and given to each city. So there's no way for an out-of-state ballot or someone to create their own ballot, a fake ballot. It doesn't work. Then when we talk about the ballots themselves, each ballot on the bottom of the ballot has a little stub on it, and that stub has a ballot number. There can never be two of the same ballot number. When you go in to cast your ballot, you'll notice before you put it in the machine, the poll worker's grabbing that tab off of it. That's what that is. We don't want to, we assign that ballot number to you. So Rich comes in, your ballot number 1. We tear that tab off before you go into the machine because we don't want to know how you voted, but we want to know that ballot 1 was presented to Rich Jones, and there's not another ballot 1. So you can't make a duplicate of a ballot or something. It's not going to work. We have to count, and that's where that audit comes in. Then the Board of Canvassers after the election reviews all of those steps. That Board of Canvassers, that's a public meeting. You can come in and watch the Board of Canvassers review the tapes, review the poll books before the ballots are even printed. The Board of Elections, the Elections Commission that approves the ballots or approves the recalls, those are all public meetings as well. So this entire process is public. And a lot of folks saying that, oh, they're hiding things. It's just you're not coming to those meetings. You're not participating in democracy. We have a system. We have a strong system, a safe system. Now, we are fighting from threats that are happening in the election process. And the threats aren't elected officials or politicians trying to change election results. The threats that are happening to our American democracy are folks that want to make it harder for people to vote, folks that want to threaten, assault, and harass the people that are working as poll workers. Now, poll workers, I say they're volunteers. They do get paid, but they come in just on election day, and they get paid a very small amount. I think it's $150, maybe $200 for the entire day.
24 hours, almost 24 hours.
It can be, yeah. And a lot of these folks are senior citizens.
It is 24 hours because the polls don't close till 8 and they open at 8.
That's 13 hours.
13 because they got to be there at 7.
That's right.
Oh, 14 because they got to pack up.
There you go. But these folks, they're not full-time politicians. They're not full-time government employees. These are community members. These are volunteers. And it really frustrates me to see that folks are going to polling locations and threatening and harassing poll workers and your city and township clerks who are just following laws and processes. That's the real threat to American democracy. The other big threat to American democracy is the misinformation and the spewing of these things. Some people are going to tell you, oh, the election is rigged, the election is stolen, my vote doesn't matter, because they want to convince you not to vote. Because when you don't vote, you're giving up your power to somebody else. If I can convince you and tell you that your vote's not going to count, just stay home, do something better. Now my vote counts more, right? If there's a community that has only 10 people in it and all 10 people vote, you got 10% of the power. Now, if I'm in that community with 10 people and I convince 5 people not to vote, my power's just doubled because I took your power from you.
Interesting.
So get out and vote and keep your power. Respect yourself. Yep. Man, Dominique, man, I'm so glad you came, man.
I appreciate you having me.
I appreciate you, and thank y'all for bringing us up here and everything. This is a wonderful day. We really need people to lift their voices and vote. We really need y'all. If we can go from 11 to 25, I will be happy. I will be happy. And if we can go from 25 to 50 in November, I will be super happy. Mm-hmm. And in 2026, if we can get 80% of our registered voters to vote, they're going to have to pay attention to Flint.
Yeah, definitely.
They're going to have to pay attention to Flint. We're going to start having, y'all ever notice we had a governor election And didn't no governor candidate put an office in Flint?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember, Dominique, when you was little, it used to be all kinds of campaign offices. Right now, I only see like 5 campaign signs, and they from 2 different candidates.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't even one from 5 different people. It's 2 candidates that I see campaign signs from. And we in the presidential election.
That's right.
We haven't even had the presidential candidates running through here. Hey man, we need you to vote. We got to change that. We really got to change it.
Absolutely. And those candidates, they're going to go to where there's people that turn out to vote. If I'm running for office and I know this community has 100,000 voters, I'm going to spend some time there. If I go to this community, I know there's 100,000 people that live there, but only 10,000 vote.
I ain't going.
You're going to spend your time where the most voters are going to be. That's why we've got to vote. That vote not only brings us the power of the decision, but brings us the power to make people like folks running for president and Congress to spend time in our community where there are people that are voting, that are engaged. Our power is our vote.
And they honor their campaign pleas. They honor them when you vote. But they can say anything. Oh yeah, I love Flint. I'm gonna give every citizen in Flint $1 million and then get elected and don't give them $1. And don't care if you get mad, because once again, only 11% of y'all vote. Y'all ain't putting me in office.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about this city over here. That 80% of their residents are voters. I'm gonna take care of them. I'm gonna give all of them residents $1 million because I know they're gonna vote. And we just got to change that. We really do. Like, it hurt my spirit to see all of those cameras up and bursting, and they was only there to get our story, to spread news around the country, to get people to vote. And that's sad. And y'all can see the state is saying Flint fatigue. It looked like the federal is turning a blind eye because the corruption is clear as day, see-through.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not getting any justice. And we are 10 years in county not having our pipes fixed in a state that has billions of dollars in their general fund every year. And they also have a rainy day fund that the citizens of Flint, like me, if I say that, man, that's like cussing some people out. They be like, man, you talking about that fund? The rainy day fund? You can't talk that and you're a Flint resident.
So that voting thing that y'all talking about would have made a difference. We probably wouldn't even be nowhere near.
We wouldn't be here
10 years with the corruption and what we got going on, because them candidates have been through here. We could have all stood together, voiced our opinion, and then people would have had to go run hide under rocks or whatever else they got to do to try to cover up.
If Flint would have voted, Rick Snyder would not have become governor. Rick Snyder set an emergency manager that poisoned the water in Flint. Our vote is our power, and not voting has consequences.
So to come up with a solution, why aren't people voting? Why? I mean, we can't really say. I mean, what do y'all think the reason why our people are not going out to vote at all?
It's ask me an age group and I can answer your question.
Okay, so we already know the millennials, so we're gonna talk about the millennials. How do we engage the millennials to even care about casting the vote?
First of all, we got to go back to what I was saying about the registered voters that vote. They got to reach down to the millennial. And just like my grandma did me, I didn't know nothing about voting. I was 18 years old. I just woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning, because back then it was a line. When they opened the polls up, it was a line from Burston door all the way down the sideline, all the way down to the parking lot. Just like, they line up for them Jordan shoes. That's how the voters in Flint used to be. And I'm just saying Burston because that's where I voted at. But that was the same for all of the polls, because they didn't really have early votings and stuff like that. But those folks got up and they believed in being one of the first ones in. If we can start molding our youngs into voting, that can be a change with the millennials. And another thing that we need to do, we need to start having forums and just gatherings to where we listen and we find out exactly what they want and why they are not expressing. And we got to teach them. Mm-hmm. If these young folks, and they don't really want us to teach them, but I do encourage them. If these young folks get together and start forming their own packs, and you know what I tell people, like these kids that ride around with guns and all that stuff, man, stop shooting each other. Turn your gang into a political pack and start making things better for your children. Because I know you don't want your children growing up in this dangerous environment called the city of Flint. So I encourage people to engage with the young. We got to go back to like my grandma. I turned 18 years old. She woke me up, snatched me out the bed, and we walked up to Burston. We ain't even drive because she knew it wasn't nowhere to park. We walked up to Burston, we stood in line, and she showed that's when I learned the D. And if you push yes, grandma gonna lose some money, ain't gonna be able to buy you no candy and tennis shoes. If you push no, grandma gonna have extra money to do something for you. So that was how I was taught. I would tell them to go to michigan.gov/vote and read up on the proposals and all of that stuff. But I wouldn't tell them like I was told, if you push yes, grandma gonna lose money. If you push no, grandma gonna save money. I wouldn't tell them that, but I would tell them to go to these sites. That's why I got Dominique here. And find out and get involved. That's what we got to do for the millennials.
And that's a question. It's not just a Flint issue, right? We see this happening across the country. Young folks are less engaged in voting. I was having a conversation with someone, and they said, well, why am I going to vote? The elected officials only care about the seniors. And I said, that's because the seniors are the voters.
The voter.
Right? We've got to figure out a way to get more young folks engaged in the process. And one of the things that just blows my mind, Michigan, we're actually doing better than every other state in the country. Michigan has the highest percentage of youth turnout in the last election in 2022. Now, being the highest, you think, oh, that's really good. We're going to talk about a really good number, right? Being the highest in the country meant we had 30% of young people vote. That was the highest in the country. Now, that's a problem. Only 30% of eligible folks between the ages of 18 and 30 are actually voting.
And that problem is because there's a lot of people between the ages of 30 and 60 that has been turned off from voting. Mm-hmm. That's a serious problem. And I really don't know what to do because it's different reasons. Some people say everybody is a crook. I never forget I was passing out literature before. Oh, what plot of money you planning on stealing? I mean, this man was dogging me out so much, I'm thinking like, dang, did one of my older cousins date his wife or something? I'm like, where this dude know me from? What? And he had nothing. He had no information about me. He just knew that I was running for office and I was a crook. And he was far from the truth. But we have had so many bad selections in office that we gotta just start and get the right people in office. And then I think that'll change. Man, I'm just thinking about that, man. That's sad. Mm-hmm. People are actually turned off from voting. People that we used to have record number of people voting in our city. Our vote really, really, really counted. I mean, in Genesee County, it was people in Flint winning Genesee County races.
That's right.
Let's just be honest. Let's look at our state prosecutors. When have we ever had one from the city of Flint? Because the city of Flint ain't gonna vote for their own. You got an outside opponent that getting all of the outside votes and some votes from the citizens of Flint. And you got a Flint person.
Our state offices, our judges, and it's not just living in the city of Flint. You know, me as someone from Flint, but also it's 2024. I got appointed in December of 2022, and when I got appointed in 2022, not that long ago, this shouldn't be a remarkable thing. In 2022, I was the first African-American county clerk in our county's history, because Flint voters don't vote. We shouldn't have had to wait till 2022 to have a person of color in the clerk's office.
To have one selected instead of elected.
That's right.
But this time we're going to make some history. We're going to elect one. I can endorse. I can endorse. So we're going to have our first black elected.
There you go.
County clerk in November. It's going to happen, y'all. Y'all going to get out and vote for Dominique. Y'all going to do that. He a good guy, y'all. I've been knowing Dominique before he was appointed. And he have always kept it real with me. Y'all may not know this, but when they was bringing in that the Ace, what is this? I done forgot the Ace Capital, First Cap, whatever, the ones that bought the Buick plant and stuff. Mm-hmm. Me and Dominique was having conversations about what is going on now, and that was that $72 million that they hit us with, because me and Dominique was like, hey, y'all know y'all got to clean that site up before y'all do anything. Why is y'all talking 3,000 jobs when y'all got to clean that site up before anybody do anything? Mm-hmm. And I really wanted the fight to be, do not charge the citizens of Flint for that cleanup. And it happened anyway. Mm-hmm. It happened. But that's what happens when you don't vote. You get people in office that put your $72 million in debt to clean up a site that the Buick City probably should have cleaned up. Or they should have reached out for some kind of government grant or something to clean that site up. It shouldn't have been on the backs of the residents of Flint, but it's on the back of the residents of Flint because of terrible voting decisions. Terrible.
We got a few comments. We got Terrence Sales, Snow Media promo, campaign ads, small businesses, ads, 40K subscribers across social media. He got an email address in there. He said Snow Media promo, 2.1 million likes. I guess he's saying that's what he got. He said home with a $20 a day promotions. Flint, Michigan has to stop falling for the banana in the tailpipe, smoke and mirror bullcrap. Ignorance is bliss. People need to stop tap dancing, sabotaging, and acting like house Negroes and go vote for the people. 11% is not going to get it. Scammers and bums. I don't know. Rosemary Morrow for First Ward, Flint City Council representative. Vote Michael Clack. Trishelle Young is from Flint. And someone, B. Marie, said he got my vote. That's just some of the things that's been said in the chat since y'all been talking. People voicing their opinion. So if anybody want to call in before these gentlemen get up out of here, we had about an hour and
Dominic, you
15
know you got 3
minutes.
votes.
Yeah. The phone number, we're going to put this up on the screen, but it's 248-820-5053. If anyone want to call in before they get up out of here, got some questions to ask, want to add into the conversation.
And while we got folks calling in, I want to just give another example of how important that vote is, right? In Michigan, we had not too many years ago a congressional race, U.S. Congress, in the Lansing area. When Mike Rogers, who's now running for U.S. Senate, a Republican, he ran against a woman named Diane Byram. And Diane Byram, the Democrat, lost by 50 votes. U.S. Congress, your vote counts. Let's bring it a little closer to home. The city of Burton, they had an election, a city council election not too many years ago. Christina Hickson and a bunch of other folks were running. City of Burton races are nonpartisan, and it's one of those, they don't have wards, so you vote for all of your council members together. The difference between the person coming in third place and getting a seat and the person that came in fourth place and didn't get a seat, 3 votes.
How many did Eric Mays win by the first time he won?
I don't know.
I think it was like 6 or 9.
Yeah, it's single digits. Every vote counts. Your vote is your power.
Your vote counts, especially in the city of Flint. This is a local election. We really need y'all to get out. Especially if you live in the 1st and the 7th ward, y'all need to lift y'all voices. Y'all got to remember, Eric Mays lived and died to hear people stand up. And I will never forget, I used to always be in back of a camera holding it up in front of somebody. You're going to come from behind that camera. Like, what is he talking about? Look where I'm at now. So, and then I'll never forget, like, every time I would go to the city council and speak, how he would hug me and tell me, thank you for just speaking.
Mm-hmm.
For just speaking. So I miss him so much. And like I said at his balloon release, if y'all really going to honor Eric Mays, y'all need to get out there and start voting. Y'all really need to start voting.
Clemens for county clerk. Rich Jones for 3rd Ward Flint City Council representative. And Sale said, I'm endorsing everyone on my platform. I cannot be biased towards one candidate. So that's what Sale said. You come on his platform, he endorsing you. So Out of the Mud would like to thank y'all gentlemen for coming in tonight.
Man,
this is very refreshing to have these conversations. Any one of y'all are more welcome to come on our platform and get more information out. Just get in contact with me or George. And it was a great show, man. Y'all did good. Got a lot of information out. Huh? And we want to give a shout out to Lessons with Larry for letting us take his spot tonight to do this, to inform the community about voting.
Shout out to Larry Lott.
Shout out, Larry Lott.
Shout out to Larry Lott. Hey, y'all, listen, I will be back soon because I have a No More Tears concert coming up August the 17th at Ballinger Park. I'm also planning a memorial, basically a Fli-City in honor of Brian Nolan and the late, great Eric Mays. So I will be coming back to inform y'all about those and stuff because I don't have no nonprofit. I ain't supported by millionaires, but I'm supported by God. And I know we got a lot of God people that want to see the same changes that I want to see. So I will be back with all of the information to where more people can like I normally do everything by myself. But I learned it takes the city to rebuild the city.
That's right.
And I can't rebuild it by myself fighting all of these forces. So
that's right. And if y'all took anything from today, get out there and vote. And more so than just being a voter, be an informed voter. Do your own research. Do your own homework.
And me and Dominique will be back after the primary elections to remind y'all. Like I said, we trying to go from 11 to 25 and 25 to 50. So we will be back. And I encourage everybody to vote early. And please don't mail your ballots on election day. Don't listen to that 1 week. It's real talk. If you're not getting your ballot in 2 weeks before the election, turn it in person.
That's right.
Turn it in person. Thank you.
And again, we would like to thank y'all for coming on. This was Out of the Mud.
Like and share.
Yeah, subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Tell people what y'all think about the
Man, I'm coming back.
They got a great setup here. It's
I'm coming back.
Been a lot of fun to be on. It's a really great setup, and like I said, we'll be back to share more information. And be sure you follow and subscribe.
And we're not biased, so any other candidates that might be watching this, just reach out to me and George, and we can see if we can get y'all on here and see if we can get some of these people captive and get their ear to try to get y'all in them spots, because we got them questions that need to be asked, like what are you going to do and what have you been doing to earn that spot. So yeah, reach out to us.